Ubisoft notably delayed AC Shadows. They delayed it in part because I think the marketing was not going the way they thought it would, and because devs were screaming at executives that they needed more time. And here's the deal. The people that will know best if they need more time are the developers. Shocker, right? And if you have a $400 or $500 million game that you really need to be successful, and it's not looking great, if your devs are saying, just give us more time, maybe listen to them. And to Ubisoft's credit, they did, even though this represents a like 10 to, or I think it was technically 20 to $35 million increase in cost of the game just to delay it 3 months. That I think is going to do a lot more good for the game, because look at this. This is the side-by-side of what they showed off in the summer. Okay, this was collected by Hidden One over on X. And this footage you're seeing here is the original footage from the summer. Okay, so the combat, especially from Yasuke, looks really clunky. The parries aren't working right. It just doesn't look particularly smooth. It looks really janky. Like, you can see he tries to parry off to the side and he gets hit anyways, and then he parries off to this side as if there's an enemy over there, but there isn't. So it's really clunky. It's not looking good. It's just like, it's just not smooth. It's not smooth. This is the footage they dropped the other day, with totally reworked parry animations, both from enemies and from Yasuke. Not only graphically is this way better for whatever reason, but it also just looks way smoother, way cleaner. And I've been impressed by a lot of people who have been very ardently opposed to AC Shadows, who even after this gameplay footage came out were like, actually, this looks kind of like buttery smooth. Joe Raptor collected all these little clips. Forgive the low fidelity. Ubisoft did not release it in full 4K or anything. But even at 1080p compressed like X clips, it still does look quite smooth. And it's not just Yasuke footage. There is also footage of different fights in different environments, but also of Nawe fighting as well. If we skip for it, well, we'll get there in just a second. So across the board, major improvements seem to have been made. Now, were these improvements made in the regular development cycle? Would this have happened regardless? Probably would have gotten better compared to the summer. But it's what I said back when they initially revealed it back in June. I was like, just wait. Ubisoft Montreal, like, for these big AC games, they enhance themselves a lot in the last 6 months. They get way better really quickly. It's kind of crazy, frankly, but this is another example of that, where it has really been overhauled and it looks significantly better. And the little bitty attention to detail, if you're looking for it, you'll see some ridiculous stuff. For one, right here, you'll see when Nawe runs out onto the ice, they actually have a dedicated animation for her slipping on the ice when she first steps out and then regaining her footing. Like, it actually changes based on the train you're at. Like, that was a freaking smooth ass finisher. With this, I want you to watch what items get destroyed as this swings around. So it cuts these baskets, it breaks this one over here, and I want you to watch this flag that just fell on the ground, okay? Something insane is going to happen here in just a second, okay? Wait for it. As she flips around, I forget the name of the weapon, but the weapon is swinging around. You gotta love that X compression from videos. But this is gonna swing around and it's gonna flip up and around and it's gonna slash the little flag, and it actually cuts it in two as it lays on the ground. It doesn't despawn like a lot of these open world games when objects break. It just despawns, or it stays there, and actually also has physics attached to it to break apart. Look at the number of leaves. They've talked about this. I think they said they can simulate well over 100,000 particles on screen. So they can have hundreds of thousands of leaves blowing around you as you're fighting, with things breaking and collapsing and getting shredded. You can also see here, look at this. Not to be morbid, but the blood pool is spilling after he falls on the ground. It's not just a splat of blood on the ground and the texture stays. As he lays there longer, the blood from the cut to his throat actually spreads onto the ground. Like, there is actually a lot of attention to detail that was not in the game back in the summer when they showed it. Like, not even close. They've actually added a lot. You can see dedicated parries and weak points, things like that have been added. So I think with all this, the key is that time makes a difference in game development. For one, listen to your devs when they say they need more time. They can get the game looking way better. And frankly, if the game looked like this when they revealed it, I think the reaction would have been... there still would have been toxic reactions related to Yasuke for sure. But I think the fans who thought that it didn't look ready for prime time would not have reacted that way. Because even I was like, yeah, I think it needs a little bit of time. I think it's got to polish up. There's still some clunk there, but this is already looking way, way better. And they still have a good amount of time. I mean, they still have like 2 months to continue polishing and refining. So I think that the delay was absolutely a good choice. And again, to their credit, a lot of the people who have been the most hardcore bashers of AC Shadows, I've been thoroughly amazed to see that even they are coming out and being like, honestly, this looks pretty smooth. This looks like way better. And props to them for saying that. One of the critiques, funnily enough, that people have brought up, I saw on X, people like, it looks too good. I think this is all pre-baked, which, to be clear, that is a good problem to have if people think your game looks too smooth, that they think it's like pre-rendered. Because if it looks like this when it launches, awesome. If it is fake, of course you're in trouble, but being accused of it looking too good is funny. On the flip side, people have said that it looks like Ghost of Tsushima, but with a Ubisoft coat of paint. And people are like, yeah, I mean, Ghost of Tsushima looked amazing. And like, this also looks like they're just trying to do that. And like, yeah, it looks good, but it's just Ghost of Tsushima. Like, okay, but does it look good or does it not? Like, I think if we're trying to really find things to be upset about, and your biggest problem is that it looks like the game you really like visually, you know, that's a little silly. I wish they would release the full 4K version of this footage, because one of the things they've stressed is this weather system. And with that, the particle sim of all of the grass blowing in the distance, all the trees. The idea is that the wind blows like not intelligently, but like consistently. So as the wind blows across the grass, it blows through the trees in the same direction. All of that carries forward and behaves realistically like that. It's, I mean, I do think as they continue polishing it up, this is going to be one of those games that's a real looker. And I mean, again, like the physics sim is what's also blowing my mind. Like, she breaks these baskets over here and the apples just come tumbling out and rolling across the way. The compression does a number on it. The far off ones despawn, but the objects that you can interact with physically, like the flag, stays on the ground to be interacted with again. You know, it's pretty impressive. So I got to give them credit. The team has been hard at work, it seems, and it's looking way better than it was just over the summer. And it makes you wonder why they waited, or why they revealed the game when they did. But it's because I think they thought they could push this out and get it out by November, which is, I mean, it was supposed to already be out. It was supposed to be out by now, like a month ago. but now they're taking their time and it seems to be paying off. So props to them for the delay. Credit where credit is due. They've actually been, I think, making a lot of progress, and it's great to see. Thank you for that one. Origins, Odyssey, Valhalla, and Shadows completes my trilogy of childhood fantasy games. I can't wait for this. I don't give a fudge what anyone says about it. I mean, if it keeps looking like this, I think people are going to shut up real quick when it launches, if it looks this good and keeps getting better. And this is what I've said a 1,000 times. I'm not convinced that the people who have been the most vocal against AC Shadows for the Yasuke stuff, like Grums, I don't think Grums was ever going to play an Assassin's Creed game. Like, I don't think Asmongold was ever going to play an Assassin's Creed game, unless it was like one of the biggest games of the year, and everybody was like demanding it. He still probably will, but like, I mean, his fan base is not their target audience typically. So I don't know how much of an impact it would have regardless. I think the people who are most upset about the Yasuke stuff are probably like, I don't think their mind could possibly be changed in any way. So I think that they're just trying to focus on the game, and they're hoping it speaks for itself. And I'll tell them right now, if the game does continue to look this solid, I think we're in for a treat if it is being polished to that level. I hope they can pull it off, because I want more good games. At the end of the day, that's what I'm hoping for. But yeah, if it ends up sucking, that'll be too bad. But they seem to be making a lot of progress on the polishing side, and that's good to see. Asmo will play for me. I mean, he even played Dragon Age, which, like, to be clear, like, it's fine if you want to talk about a game that you weren't going to play anyways. That's totally fine. Like, who cares? But I do think it's important to note that, like, just because you hear a lot of drama online about a particular game does not mean that is going to reflect in like the audience of that game being affected. You know, I think that the people that are the core of the AC audience, I don't think that they are boycotting the game over Yasuke. Like, they know that these games usually fudge the historical record a lot. And so it's not really a surprise to them. They're like, yeah, no, I mean, this is what they do. You know, do you think Ubisoft can redeem themselves? I think any company can, except for what's the name of the company that did The Day Before that's trying to do another game? Fantastic. I think anybody but Fantastic can do it. I think they can redeem themselves, but it's just going to take a consistent effort of quality over quantity, of polish and refinement. And I hope that they can pull that off. And I hope this new philosophy they have of giving devs time and not trying to rush stuff out, even if it has bugs, I hope that they can continue with that approach, because that's how you get a good game made. I think that's the key. Is EA good now? EA's definitely repaired a lot of their reputation, I think. Part of it is their EA Originals program has done wonders, I think. They, for example, people forget, they published It Takes Two. Technically speaking, EA won Game of the Year in 2021. One of their projects won Game of the Year. EA, you know? So I think that they've done a lot of work to repair their reputation, because back in like 2016, 17, the type of discussion we have now with Ubisoft was happening with EA.
$20 through Super Chat. I 100% been waiting for AC game in Japan and would have bought it, but the Yasuke as the player character is a big bummer for me and might not now. Would have loved an AC in Sub-Sahara Africa where it's new history for me.
I mean, it's too bad if Yasuke is enough to turn you off from the entire game, you know, that's too bad. I mean, I can't speak to what specifically bums you out about it, but to me, it's not a surprise. It's been rumored for like a decade at this point, not a decade, like 4 or 5 years, that Yasuke was going to be a playable character. So to me and people who follow the leaks and stuff, none of this was surprising. I don't see it as like a huge deal. Like, do we all know what they were doing with it? Like, yeah. Does it mean that the game will therefore be bad? I don't think so. But yeah, no, there's going to be a lot more Assassin's Creed stuff coming. I mean, they're going to do the Black Flag remake. They're going to do this multiplayer game spinoff. They're going to do a cooperative multiplayer game, it sounds like. They have Hexe, which is going to be more of like a linear, dark, gritty narrative game. There's going to be a lot of stuff for Assassin's Creed fans. This is just their big open world, like living, breathing single player game again. To not play a game because of a character is crazy to me. I mean, if the character is like really bad or stupid, then that can affect the game. I just don't think we've seen anything from Yasuke that's damning to that point. Now, if we see the game in previews, or if we see cutscenes that come out that are on the level of like Forspoken. You remember when Forspoken had some cutscenes leak or get released, and they were literally just the protagonist talking. It was nothing more than that, but it was so poorly written that went viral and killed the game. That's the whole thing. Like, if we get something like that, then yeah, I can see why that could be a turnoff for people. But isn't he gay? No, the whole thing that people freaked out about, and this is why I think it's really important that you check your, like, who you're watching or who you're listening to. In a lot of RPGs, you have the choice to romance whoever, right? Because they're like, we don't know if you as the player want like homosexual relationships, heterosexual relationships, or if you want to just go crazy and do anything and everything that moves. Whether you look at Cyberpunk or you look at whatever, that's typically how a lot of these RPGs work. So for AC Shadows, they're like, yeah, we'll have romances for male, female, whatever. You just go crazy, have fun. And people are like, so therefore he's gay. It's like, no, if you want to play the character as gay, you can do that. If you want to play the character as straight, you can do that. Like, none of this is shocking or new for RPGs. It's just how a lot of these companies build them. But I guess for people who haven't played games before, it's like jarring or shocking. But again, like none of this is new or scandalous. It's been this way for like a decade for a lot of these games.
He took my thing.